Welcome to Home Care Business Insights, your go-to resource for exploring the many aspects of running a successful home care business. Whether you're an industry pro, new entrepreneur, or just curious about the industry, this podcast offers strategies, tips, and solutions to help you succeed. While AI-generated voices host the episodes, the insights are real and designed with your growth in mind. Let's dive into what matters most in building a thriving home care business. Now let's hear from our AI hosts.
All right, welcome to this deep dive. We're skipping the usual introductions today and getting straight into it.
Sounds good.
We're focusing on something really vital if you're considering, getting into the home care business through a franchise.
Researching those opportunities properly.
Exactly. How to research home care franchises.
Yeah.
You want the real information, the practical stuff, without drowning in, corporate speak. Think of this as your focused guide to getting genuinely informed. We're pulling insights from reliable sources like the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission.
And from people who've actually been there, done that in home care franchising.
Right. So the mission today is to unpack the essential steps, the key things you absolutely need to look at.
Exactly. We're not just saying do your homework. We want to dig into the actual mechanics of these franchises.
Okay.
And more importantly, how you can figure out if signing that agreement is really the right move for you.
It's covering everything from the basics of the model
to those sometimes tricky details buried deep in the disclosure documents, the FDB.
Okay, let's start with the basics then. This whole franchise idea, specifically for home care, what's the core concept?
Well, fundamentally, you're paying a fee, right, to operate a business under a brand name that's already established, the franchisor's brand.
So you get their system, their name recognition, hopefully their support too.
That's the idea. You buy into their operating system, use their name, and get ongoing support. But, and this is a big but.
It's not free. There's a cost. A stack of costs, actually.
First up is that initial franchise fee. This can vary wildly, depending on the brand.
And it might be non-refundable.
Often, yes.
Yeah.
Which means if you back out, that money could just be gone. Poof.
Okay, good heads up.
Yeah.
What else? Startup costs.
Oh, yeah. Big time. You've got rent for your office space, maybe build-out costs to get it looking right.
Equipment, maybe specific software, phones.
Exactly. Initial inventory or supplies, all the necessary licenses and insurance.
Which can be complex in home care.
Very. And sometimes even fees for a grand opening event. It all adds up.
And it doesn't stop there, does it? The costs keep coming.
Nope. Think ongoing payments. Royalties are a big one.
That's usually a percentage of your income, right?
Correct. Usually a percentage of your gross income.
Gross. Ouch. So, even if you're losing money that month,
you still owe that royalty payment. It's based on the top line, not the bottom line.
That's a critical point. Okay, what other ongoing fees?
Advertising fees are common. These might go into a national fund.
Which might feel a bit remote when you're just starting small.
Right. Or it could be for regional or local marketing pools. You really need to understand where that money's going.
And if it's actually helping your specific location get clients.
Precisely. Is it driving business to your door?
Now let's talk control. Being a franchisee means you're not entirely your own boss, are you?
Not entirely, no. The franchisor needs to maintain brand consistency, so they exert a fair amount of control.
Like where you can set up shop.
Absolutely. They often have site approval rights. They can dictate the design standards for your office.
Down to the paint colors, maybe?
Sometimes, yeah. And they can place restrictions on the specific goods or services you offer.
So in home care, that could mean limitations on the types of care you can provide?
Exactly. Or the methods you have to use. Your operational procedures are often tightly defined.
What about sales areas? Territories?
That's another big area of control. You might get a defined territory, but it might not be truly exclusive. Sometimes the fine print allows the franchisor themselves, or maybe other franchisees, to sell online or through other channels within your supposed territory.
Wow, okay. Need to read that carefully.
Definitely. And these agreements, they don't last forever.
Right, they have a term limit.
Yes, a set number of years.
Yeah.
And there are termination clauses if you don't comply with their rules.
They can end the agreement, and you could lose everything you've invested.
That's the risk. And renewal isn't automatic either.
So when the term is up, they don't have to renew.
Correct. Or they might offer a renewal, but maybe on completely different terms. Could be higher fees, new restrictions.
Things that might not work for you anymore.
It's possible. So before you even get excited about a particular brand,
you need to do some serious self-reflection.
Absolutely. Ask yourself, is this franchise model, especially in a field like home care, truly the right fit for me?
It's more than just wanting to help people, isn't it? The business side is huge.
Front and center. First, the financials. Do you realistically have the investment capital needed?
Not just the franchise fee, but all those startup costs and some operating cushion.
Right. And can you honestly afford the possibility of losing that investment if things go south?
Have you looked into financing? What's your credit like?
And crucially, do you have savings to live on until the business becomes profitable? Because that can take time.
Okay, finance is sorted. What about skills?
What do you bring to the table? Does the franchise require specific technical skills, maybe related to scheduling software or certain care protocols?
And do you have them, or can you learn them quickly?
What about general business management experience? Running payroll, marketing, managing staff?
Those are essential day-to-day skills.
For sure. Then think about your personal goals. What kind of income do you need or want?
Does the service aspect of home care genuinely appeal to you? It can be demanding.
Very. What kind of time commitment are you really prepared to make, especially in the beginning?
Are you planning to be hands-on, managing everything yourself?
Or do you envision hiring a manager relatively quickly?
That's your long-term vision. One unit, multiple units.
And maybe the biggest question, how comfortable are you really with having a franchisor looking over your shoulder and influencing your decisions?
That's a lot to chew on.
It is, but better to think about it now than later.
Okay, so let's say you've done that soul searching, crunched the numbers, and decided, yes, I think a home care franchise could work for me. Great. Where do you start finding these opportunities?
Good question. It's not always obvious where to look.
Right. How do you sort the good from the, well, less good?
A really practical first step is just boots on the ground research in your own area. Look at the home care franchises already operating locally.
And try to talk to the owners.
If you can, absolutely. Go in, introduce yourself, explain your exploring options, get their unfiltered take on their experience with the brand.
Real-world intel. I like it. What else?
Franchise handbooks can be useful. You might find them online or in the business section of a library. They list available franchises.
Gives you a sense of the landscape.
Exactly. And then there are franchise expositions or trade shows.
Ah, the big events?
Yeah, they let you see many brands in one place, compare them side by side. But go prepared.
Know your budget, your goals.
And have your questions ready. Don't just collect brochures.
Now, what about franchise brokers? Or consultants?
Okay, brokers can be helpful, but you need to be savvy. Understand who they actually represent.
Do they work with lots of franchisors or just a few they have deals with?
That's key. Also, how do they get paid?
Well,
Is it a commission from the franchisor?
because if it is, they might steer you towards more expensive options, right?
It's a potential conflict of interest, yes. Always be skeptical of earnings claims they make.
Verify everything with the official documents.
Always. With the FDD, the franchise disclosure document.
Okay, so when you're actually looking at specific brands, what factors are most important in home care?
First, demand. Is there real, sustained demand for the type of home care services that franchise offers in your specific community?
Is it year-round? Is it likely to generate repeat clients?
Good questions. Then, competition. Who else is out there?
Other franchises, independent agencies.
National brands, regional players, local mom and pops, company-owned stores, even online providers targeting your area. You need the full picture.
You also mentioned thinking about whether you could survive if the franchisor faltered.
Yeah, it's a resilience check. If their support weakened or the brand took a hit, could your local operation still stand on its own?
That relies partly on the brand's reputation, I guess.
Huge factor. How well known and respected is the name? And check this, has the franchisor properly registered their trademarks? The FTC actually flags this.
Avoid legal hassles later. Smart.
And proactively look for complaints. Check with state franchise regulators, the Better Business Bureau, consumer protection agencies. See if there are patterns.
What about their training and support? That seems critical in home care.
Absolutely vital. How good is their initial training? What about ongoing support? How does it stack up against industry norms?
And talk to current franchisees about it.
Yes. Ask them point blank, was the training actually useful? Is the support team responsive when you have problems?
And finally, look at the franchisor themselves, their history.
How long have they been franchising? Do they have real expertise in home care and in supporting franchisees? Are they financially stable enough to provide that support long term?
Which leads us neatly to the big one, the FDD.
The franchise disclosure document. Yes, this is your non-negotiable resource.
And there's a rule about getting it right. The FTC's franchise rule.
Correct. They must give it to you at least 14 calendar days before you sign anything binding or pay any money.
So ask for it early. Don't wait.
Definitely. Get it as soon as you're seriously considering a particular franchise.
Okay, let's break down some key parts of the FDD. You mentioned treating it like a Rosetta Stone.
Pretty much. Item 1 gives you the franchisor's background, their business history, and importantly for home care, any specific industry licensing you'll need to be aware of.
Item 2.
That profiles a management team. Who are these people? What's their experience, especially in franchising and, ideally, home care?
Gotcha. Item 3 sounds serious litigation.
It is. It discloses lawsuits involving the franchisor or executives. Things like fraud allegations, franchise law violations, major suits against franchisees.
A lot of lawsuits could be a red flag.
Could definitely indicate problems, yeah. Item 4 is bankruptcy history for the franchisor, predecessors, affiliates, key people.
If there are bankruptcies listed.
You'll want to scrutinize their current financial health in Item 21 even more closely.
Okay, items 5 through 7. This is the money part again.
Yes, detailed breakdown of initial and ongoing costs. The franchise fee, estimated startup costs, think real estate, software specific to home care, initial supplies, plus those royalties and ad fees we talked about.
But should you assume that list is exhaustive?
Good point. No. Ask about costs not explicitly listed. Maybe required accounting software, legal review fees, costs for ongoing training updates.
And don't forget to budget for your own living expenses during that startup phase.
Crucial. Estimate personal and business expenses realistically for, say, the first year or two.
All right, items 8 and 12 restrictions.
Yep. Restrictions on suppliers you have to use, the exact scope of services you can offer, the territory limits, rules about online sales.
Including whether the franchisor or other franchisees can compete with you online in your area.
Exactly. Get clear on all that. Item 11 details their advertising programs, how your ad fees are spent, whether you get any say.
And the training program specifics.
Great. Content, duration, who the trainers are, ongoing support, any extra costs. Again, great questions to ask current franchisees.
Get their take on the actual quality. Item 17 discovers the end game, sort of.
Kind of. Renewal terms, conditions for termination by either side, whether you can sell or transfer your franchise, and how disputes are handled court or arbitration.
And pay attention to post-termination stuff.
Definitely. Things like non-compete clauses that might limit what you can do after leaving the system.
Okay, item 19. Financial performance representations. The earnings claims.
The big carrot. But franchisors don't have to provide this if they do.
Be skeptical.
Be thorough. Understand the basis for the numbers. What assumptions are they making? Do the figures represent typical franchisees or just the top 1%?
Gross sales versus actual profit is a key distinction here.
Huge. And are the numbers relevant to your potential market? Get any claims substantiated in writing.
Makes sense. Item 20.
This lists current and former franchisees. You see system growth, but also turnover closures, transfers, terminations.
So this is your contact list for doing that franchise outreach.
Exactly. Talk to current folks, especially those in business 1-5 years. Ask about training, support, profitability, headaches.
Talk to former franchisees, too, if possible.
Yes, find out why they left. Also, see if there's an independent franchise association you can connect with.
Collective insights. Good idea. Last one, item 21.
The franchisor's audited financial statements for the last 3 years.
Probably need an accountant for this one.
Highly recommended unless you're a finance pro. Have them assess the franchisor's overall financial health, growth trends, revenue sources. Are they making money selling franchises or from ongoing royalties? And how they allocate resources to support people like you.
Yeah, that FDD is packed.
It really is. It's your primary due diligence tool.
Okay, so you've dissected the FDD, but checking the franchisor's reputation goes beyond just that document, right?
Oh, absolutely. You need to look at their public face, too. Online reviews are a starting point.
Google, Facebook, maybe even employee review sites like Glassdoor. Or
yeah. Yes. Look for themes. What are clients saying? What about caregivers? How does the company respond to criticism? That tells you a lot.
Especially if you're considering buying an existing franchise location.
Definitely check the local reviews then. Also, look for independent franchisee satisfaction surveys.
Like the ones from Franchise Business Review.
Exactly. They survey franchisees directly about training, support, leadership, profitability, core values. Low scores are a warning sign.
What about their general market presence?
How does their website look? Is it easy to find online? Is their branding consistent? Are they active and professional on social media?
Do a few searches yourself. See if they pop up for home care in your town.
Good test. And remember our FDD discussion. The transparency in that document, or lack thereof, is part of their reputation.
Right. Visiting a local office can also give you a feel.
For sure. How professional does it seem? Are the staff engaged? Does it feel like the brand image they project?
And we keep coming back to this, but talking to franchisees is key for reputation too.
Can't stress it enough. Ask about the reality versus the sales pitch. Training, support, income, quality of life. Would they do it again?
Try to talk to a mix of them. New ones, experienced ones, multi-unit owners.
Ideally, yes. Get different perspectives. And if you get invited to a discovery day at corporate,
Go.
absolutely. Observe the culture, meet the leaders face to face, ask tough questions, see if it feels right.
Are there industry groups that rank or review franchises?
Yes. Organizations like FranData, Franchise Business Review again, maybe even industry-specific ones like Activated Insights for home care data. They can provide context.
And always double-check the legal side.
Make sure they're properly registered to sell franchises in your state. Check for major legal or regulatory actions against them. An attorney can help here.
Speaking of attorneys, that seems like a wise investment through this whole process.
It really, really is. Trying to navigate this alone, especially the legal documents, is risky.
So find an attorney who specifically does franchise law, not just any business lawyer.
Yes, specialization matters here. Franchise law has its own complexities. They understand the FDD inside out.
What's their main role? Protecting you.
Essentially, yes. They act as your risk manager. They spot potential red flags in the FDD or the franchise agreement that you might miss.
Things that could bite you later.
Exactly. They can also help with your due diligence on the franchisor, digging deeper legally.
Can they actually negotiate the agreement? I thought those were pretty standard.
Often they are standard, but sometimes there is room for negotiation on certain points, maybe in addendums. A good franchise attorney knows where there might be flexibility.
And they ensure you're ticking all the legal boxes from day one.
Right. Compliance is key. And they can be a resource down the road, too, if issues arise.
Okay, but it costs money, obviously, and takes time.
It does. But weigh that cost against the potential cost of making a huge mistake because you didn't understand the contract or overlooked a major risk.
So how do you find a good one?
Ask for recommendations, maybe from other franchisees, your accountant, business groups. Vet them carefully. Check their specific experience in franchising, their communication style, and get a clear understanding of their fees upfront.
Makes sense. It's about managing risk on a big decision.
Precisely.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from understanding the basic franchise deal in home care
to digging deep into the costs, the controls, the contractual obligations.
and assessing if it's even right for you personally and financially.
Exploring how to find opportunities, evaluating them based on demand, competition, reputation.
And the absolute necessity of dissecting that FDD item by item.
Talking to current and former franchisees.
And finally, the critical role of getting expert legal advice from a franchise attorney.
It's a thorough process, but it has to be.
Absolutely. This is a major commitment of time, money, and energy. You need to go in with your eyes wide open. Leverage all the resources, the FDD, the franchisees, the experts.
The ultimate goal is finding that sweet spot. A home care franchise that fits your budget, leverages your skills, and aligns with your vision for making an impact in this really rewarding field.
Right. So as you continue on your own research journey, here's something to think about, a question maybe to ask yourself, and potential franchisors. Beyond the basics, what specific element of a franchisor's ongoing support system? Maybe it's their caregiver recruitment assistance, their technology platform, their clinical oversight, their local marketing support. What one thing would give you the most confidence that they can truly help you succeed long-term?
That's a great question to ponder. It gets to the heart of what kind of partnership you're really looking for.
Exactly. This deep dive was just to get you started. We really hope you'll take these points and dig even deeper using the resources we talked about. Good luck with your research.